In this video, we're going to have a look at acceptance and why there may be many areas in your life which you do not accept. Welcome to this video. I'm someone who likes to always dig deeper, look behind the curtains, and find more and more the ultimate truths, if there is such a thing. And what I realized is how important acceptance is in terms of healing and overall just well-being in our lives. Because usually we fight something and we have resistance to it, and that creates kind of a friction. And this consumes your energy. And if you think about it, all of this is just made up. You just made it up yourself, right? So I want to show you what are the roots of this behavior. Why are you not in acceptance, or why are you fighting things? And how can you, just wrap your head around this concept. And also I'm going to explain what acceptance is not and what I don't mean in this video. Because it doesn't mean that anybody can do whatever he or she wants with you. That's not acceptance. That's more like lethargy, I would say. But it's about the things, some things you can control and some things you cannot control. A good image I would give you now is if you're imagining, or the saying, you can't fight the wave, but you can learn how to ride it. So imagine, you're this person on a waveboard, and you're riding the waves. So you have some kind of control, some kind of steering opportunities that you can do. But overall, the wave is a way more powerful force. Or if you're imagining you're sitting in a boat, the river will be the most important factor determining where you go. And that's a really, really important lesson to learn. So I hope you understand this definition of what it is and what it is not. So once more, it doesn't mean that anyone can do whatever he or she wants with you, but it's a skill or a quality to learn how to handle things that you cannot change and that you have hardly any influence over. And that's the really important thing, because otherwise this friction will eat up so much of your energy, and that's not something that you want. I want to give a few examples to show you why this is such an important essential quality and concept, because there's so many areas in our lives where this applies to. So the first example would be relationships. There's a lot to say about relationships. I mean loving relationships between man and woman. But can you accept your partner as he or she is? Or is there something you want to change about it? Something that you feel like, this is just not right, and I wish that would change, so I would finally be happy or something. If you think about it, in a relationship, if you don't accept your partner as he or she is, then that's a bit strange, right? Because why would you be together with someone that you don't accept? And also not only in loving relationships, but also in relationships with every other person, you should have at least a tolerance. That's maybe the lower quality of acceptance. But you should also accept that person with all his or her mistakes and everything, right? Because we all have mistakes. And it's so important that we can accept the fact we all have mistakes, and thus we can accept every other human being on earth. The second example would be planning. Let's say you plan a big project or whatever, and either during the planning phase or at the very end, something goes completely wrong. And it's something that you had no control over. Then if you don't accept this kind of fact, So first of all, in the planning phase, accepting the fact that you don't have all the information. Because basically, depending on what your consciousness level is, you understood that you don't know anything, right? So the thing is, you don't have all the variables and all the information, and you will also make wrong conclusions. So if you don't accept this very fact, then you're kind of hurting yourself by, oh, why didn't I think of this? Why didn't I think of that? Or when in the very end the planning doesn't go wrong, it doesn't go right, you'll be like, just think of anything that happened recently where you were planning and then it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. And if you then, that's a tendency for many people, not everyone, of course, but a tendency for many people. Yes, you can overthink, but I think some people will also, let's say, get a small damage from any project that is not successful in their eyes. But, it's in the... And to say it philosophically, you don't really know anything, so you just live in the moment and enjoy the activity you are doing without looking forward to the end result. Because it's not about the end result, life is about the process. So, yeah, I hope you got that example. Another example would be with a disease. There's a tendency for many people that, for example, they think they have, let's say they have a fever, and then they run to some place where they get a pill that is supposed to suppress this fever. So independently from the fact that they haven't understood that the fever is doing something good to their body, again, here you can see that, oh, something is there that is not supposed to be there, so I have to fight it, right? I have to fight something. And in that case, let's say a fever is especially bad because this fever is happening inside your body, inside your system. And fighting that, if you see it on this very abstract level, it doesn't seem the most intelligent thing to do, right? Because there's also this body intelligence, and usually many people have a lot of difficulties accepting that and will, let's say, overthrow the judgment of the body with their intellect. So can you accept the fact that you have a disease, or whatever it is? It could also be that you're missing a leg or something. Let's say you're missing a leg, or something happened in your past, whatever. Can you accept the fact that that is how it is, or will you for the rest of your life have resistance to this? And with your mental energy, you would just waste time on that thing that you cannot change. That's a big thing. It's a really big thing. Can you change something about the situation? Do you want to change something? Okay, go ahead, you can try. You can always try, of course. But you can also try to fight against a certain kind of wave. Yeah, sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't work. And yeah, my impulse is accept this fact. You can't control anything. You can't control everything. Maybe to a small degree you can. Or let's say the last example. If you lack some kind of knowledge or skill. We are born without any knowledge about the world, really. So some people try to compensate something, which I'm going to talk about in the next chapter. They're trying to compensate something with building a lot of knowledge and then trying to impress other people with that. Or by building certain skills. I'm the best weightlifter in the world, or I'm the fastest runner in the world. I'm not saying that it's wrong to do, and if you really enjoy what you're doing, by all means, go ahead and continue doing if you enjoy what you're doing. But there's a difference between that and then doing it for the end result, for the sake of the end result. That's a big difference. Because then it's not really about the process. And also when you finish that process, you will notice that, now I'm still not happy. Because it's like 99% of the time you've been working for this, let's say, medal or trophy or whatever, 99% of the time you didn't enjoy. And then there's this 1%, this 1 hour where you really feel great and whatever. And then again, you're back to miserable. Can you accept the fact that you don't know a lot of things? 99.99% of things you have no idea about. You don't know how things really work. And that's okay, right? Can you accept the fact there will always be smarter people than you, more intelligent, wiser people than you? They will always be there. There will always be people who can play piano better than you or any type of game. If you don't accept this simple fact, then just, make yourself clear what kind of mountain this builds up. Like you're fighting against something which you cannot win. You cannot win against fighting against something, right? Now I want to talk about what really lies at the core of acceptance. The basic idea behind it, why we are not in acceptance, is that something is wrong. Something is not right the way it is. But if you already understood that you don't know anything, then that may be just a wrong conclusion. Because you just assume something is not right. You're just assuming that. And based off this idea, you're building resistance towards something. But if you share my view about life, which is that whatever life gives you is there to heal you and to nourish you, then you can live with way more ease. And maybe you can become dis-ease free. So that's really something to think about. And the second aspect of this line of thinking, that there is something wrong, because otherwise you would accept it, right? If everything is right, you accept it. Your kids are happy, you have a good meal, you earn enough money, you accept it, right? That's the way how you want it to be. But the assumption that something else is not how it's supposed to be, and that builds up this resistance. And you have to look at all these things very closely. The second aspect of this is that it's not really about the outside world. There is no right and wrong in the outside world. This is entirely a concept that you come up with. It's such a deep truth. And honestly, I could say that like all day to every person that I see, because it's so important. It's so important. There is no good and bad, no right or wrong on a certain type of level. So, of course, you should not inflict pain and suffering to other people, but that's not the point. The point is that the truth, if you consider such a thing to be existent, is within you. It's not in the outside world. So you are the only person that creates a problem that doesn't accept something the way it is. So you're creating a problem and a story and like a real big mountain of a story around it. And that's really important to grasp. Really please think about this fact that the base idea is that something is not right. And if it's not on the outside about, let's say, politicians or, there's wars out there and this and that, I invite you to come back to yourself and find if there's something in the outside world, like let's say a war or politicians, think about if this concept occurs over and over in your life, like what does it have to do with you? Because my view of life is that, it's there for you and it's trying to show you something. Life has an inherent, extreme, big intelligence that surpasses ours by far. So if you don't accept something on the outside, what does it really have to do with you? That's a really important question. And at some point in your life, maybe you can withdraw a lot from the outside world and you're more and more reflecting on who you are and what you are and what is the outside world really, and what's your relation to the outside world. Like you could see it as a kind of projection or as a theater or something. there is this programming through society that we have where we are being told you have to strive for something. You have to reach something, like a degree or a position in a job or whatever it is. Have you ever challenged that thought? I mean, have you ever thought, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to reach anything. I can just enjoy the moment as it is right now. I mean, remember when you were a kid. Did you think, oh, I really need that degree? Or, yeah, definitely I want to, like, all the time thinking, yeah, definitely I want to be in that managing position and earning 75,000 a year. No, you were just enjoying the moment. You were not in the past and you were not in the future. And this is also connected with acceptance. Because if you think about it, if you accept the current moment, if you accept now, then why would you strive for anything else? Because if you accept it, it means everything's okay right now. There's nothing to improve. You just accept everything as it is. It's a really important point. So what I'm currently doing, I'm having this experiment in my life where I'm trying more and more to accept what life gives me and what life doesn't give me. Because it really feels like life is closing certain doors that should not be closed. It's like I'm trying certain things and it never works. As if the life wants to show me this is not the direction right now. Or as if it wants to teach me a lesson. And that's another point that I want to mention here. The good thing about our limitations as human beings is that we can learn to get into acceptance. Because we all have our limits as a human being, that's for sure. I guess what we really are is higher, bigger than this human form. But for whatever reason right now, we have this human form. And it's limited. And I think what these limits can also lead us to is show us the acceptance. And make us aware where we are not in acceptance, where we are fighting something. So even if you reach a limit of whatever sort, like it could be, okay, you just have one leg, although nowadays it's not such a big problem as it used to be, or maybe you, I don't know, you lack half your brain or whatever. But this limit can bring you to the point of acceptance, because you fight, you strive, you try to change things, and then in the end you realize somehow it doesn't work out, right? Of course, you can continue fighting, but as I said in the beginning, this will take up so much energy. And what I'm trying right now is the other strategy. Not what society has programmed us to always strive for more and bigger and, yeah, but where does it lead to? But what I'm trying is see what life wants to show me and what life wants to give me and what it doesn't want to give me. And be more in concordance with the flow of life. It may be a bit hard to understand if, like, depending on the mindset you come from, but it doesn't mean laziness. It doesn't mean, not trying to improve on things. But the important point really is that you accept everything as it is and you are in the moment. You enjoy the process. Like, you enjoy, for example, the improving on any aspect, the growth in any aspect. You do enjoy that. You don't do it for the end result because then it means you're not happy. You don't accept the current situation. So you need to change something about it, right? But really it's always about yourself. So normally I'm always thinking in terms of what do I need to change in here. But now I want to explicitly mention that most of the time I'm also talking about changing something in the outside world, because that's not how it works. You don't change other people. You don't change circumstances, really. Or let's say you just have a very tiny influence on that, but what you do change is your perspective on things. That's the only thing you can definitely change. And this is also the thing that really matters. And if you do that a lot, if you do that for many months and years, you will come to this point of acceptance, because there's no other way. Or at least it's one milestone that you will have to pass. You will have to go through acceptance. Otherwise, no. Life, at least from my experience, it will show you it doesn't work that way. And please always remember that life is on your side. Okay? And go with it. Don't go against what the universe is trying to tell you, to teach you, to give you. And be glad for what you have. There are different attitudes if you're not in acceptance. The head and descent attitude may be one of them. But that's the worst way to approach any problem. You are aware that there is a problem, but you don't want to see it. I mean, first of all, the problem will not go away. And most likely, let's say if it's a disease or like a mental problem maybe, or emotional problem, it will usually grow, because life wants to show you this is not the way. It wants to push you to overcome this obstacle, whatever it is. But with this head in the sand attitude, you would be like, no, it's not there. I don't see it. And obviously, everybody will think that's idiotic. But still, that's what many people do. The next step would be, have the image of a ball in the water, and you're trying to push the ball down into the water, whereas the water will always keep pushing it up. Okay, so you see there is a problem, but you're trying to suppress it. This is especially true for emotions. And yeah, maybe for a certain time this works, but then the pressure will still be there. So it requires you, this strategy, if you want to call it, it requires you to constantly use energy on that problem, to hold something down, to push it down, to not voice your opinion or whatever, or not voice your emotions. Because what lies behind this may be that, hey, you don't accept that emotion. Someone or society or whoever has told you that that specific emotion, it could be anger, it could be sadness or whatever, that emotion is not acceptable. Someone could just have told you that. And if you think about it, how stupid is that? It's such a basic thing that we have. It's just the problem that our parents and their generation, maybe they never really learned to express their emotions. And they passed it on to you, to us. So be absolutely clear about you can express any emotion that you have. And if the others are not understanding to a certain degree, then that may be their problem. It has nothing to do with you, really. But I learned from my current path of healing, and don't be, illusioned. It will take some time. It doesn't just work magically, like snapping a finger and breathing once, like holotropic breathing or whatever. No, you will need more sessions for this, but you have to accept these emotions because they are still kind of saved in your system. They are still there. And there was a time when, you were not able to handle these things, so you kind of put them in this dark closet. But now, what you have to do is to open this up and go through this darkness and all this dirt or whatever is there. My friend, many years ago, and I still remember what he said. He said to me, these things, they just want to be seen. And I absolutely agree to this, because your system remembers something bad has happened, and it's trying to defend itself, to not live that emotion again. But what if you accept even the darkest, the saddest, the most depressing emotions? You say, okay, I do accept it's there. I do accept it was there. Because without that step, there can be no healing. If you look away, or if you try to solve everything mentally, good luck with that. That I mean, my experience is it works also by living through this emotion. You can't just rationalize any sort of problem that you have. You can't just go to a psychologist and then just talk without living that emotion that is there, without really touching that thing. And then it really has nothing to do with what you think about it. It's just you live it. You experience it. You go through the sadness. Okay, that's fine. It's absolutely fine. If you cry, perfect. Because that's the healing. That's what you need to do. And yeah, coming back to the topic. And this is about accepting what was and what is, accepting also, especially our own emotions. That's a really important point. Many people do not do that. They are disconnected from their emotions. And to a certain degree, definitely, I am too. So, but now I learned how these mechanisms work. And I learned how the healing works. So I can only encourage you to do what I just described and first of all go into acceptance. Because as I said in the beginning, it's such an essential quality and you can apply it to so many areas in your life that it will give you a very, very deep healing. If that is a core of your being, I mean, that may be the biggest healing thing that you can do for your life if you understand correctly what acceptance means and if you live that. So now I want to conclude with the question, or to sum up, like, what does this all lead to if I'm in acceptance? You will live a much less stressful life. You will be more smooth through life. Because I think it's a good comparison to say, otherwise there would be a lot of friction in your life, right? There's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of, like, even arguments, like, no, I want to be right, and the other person is the same thing, and nobody wants to change his point of view. There's friction in that, and that's not a good energy. Everybody feels that. And this is also at the core. I do not accept, oh, maybe that other person has a different opinion or whatever. So you will have a way smoother life if you really go into deep acceptance. Of course, always remembering this is about what life wants to show you. This is not about accepting anything that everybody else is telling you to do. That's not acceptance. You do have a degree of free will, and you can use that, and you can steer your body through life. But then you also have to see that there's a bigger force behind that. And I mean, maybe you haven't even accepted that. Or maybe you haven't even considered that. Or maybe you're just like, no, can't be, because you're very rational. Then I would encourage you to look there again. But long story short, I hope you understood what an important quality this is. And maybe I could give you a few impulses on how to apply it onto your life in different areas and see the core behind it. Let me repeat that core again. It's the idea, the concept. It's a concept. Something is wrong here. And if you go really deep into that, maybe with the knowledge that you don't know anything, I think you can heal a lot of shit. I think you can really clean up your system big time if you understand what I just said. And I really hope that happens. Please leave your comments below the video. Even, different types of comments. I'm not just waiting for the ones, yeah, magically healed. But I would really love to hear if that happens, definitely. And because that also encourages other people and shows them, yeah, that's a good path of healing. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you in the next video.